Hello everyone, once again to another episode of Nathan's 3D Factory. I am Nathan Adams, and in this episode I am going to show you an introduction to geometry nodes in Blender. Now this is a feature that's been going on for a little while now, but if you're just getting started you probably have some questions. So I wanted to give you a quick way in which you could get going, get your feet wet, and have some fun. So right now I'm in the default cube, and I'm going to keep it right here for a moment. And then we're going to go into our geometry nodes. So to begin, we have this nice area right here that's kind of it's gonna be our canvas, okay? And so I'm gonna go new, and then I'm going to show you just some things that we can do to get this thing so that it doesn't look like some plain boring old default cube. So first, I'm gonna do Shift A so I can add a new node. Now, the first one that I want to do is I want to put some points on each of those corners there. And so I'm going to do points on, or instance on points is what it's going to be. So now we have that. And now this is going to turn this into points, and you can't see them right now, but we're going to look at them in a moment. So on this you have a few items here: points, selection, instance, pick instance, all this stuff. Now I'm just going to focus on instance. Now I can pull this out, and then what I can do is that I can put whatever is going to be in this menu right here. It actually gives you selections, and so what I want to do is I want to have an icosphere. So I'm going to put that in, and then immediately you'll notice that you have these nice ugly icospheres, right? I am going to take these down, and then what I'll do is I want them there, okay? And then I can do some other cool stuff as well. So right now we just have our regular default. Oh yeah, I also want to take these subdivisions so that we have a much smoother icosphere here. Because now look at that. If I do this, not so cool. Right there, I'm good with that. Okay. Also, I want to name this. I don't want this to just be geometry nodes. No, instead, I'm going to call this the point maker. Now, what's cool about this is that, let's say, well, I'd like to keep the default mesh, but I don't want to have this where it's going to be like appearing at the moment. I want this to be something where I can turn it into a modifier to put into a chain, so I can group it, right? If I X that out, you'll see it goes right back to where it was, right? So that is something where I turn on this save feature, and now I'm going to show you this. Okay, so we're going to do a new one just to show you what I'm talking about. So if I do Shift A, I pull in a group, point maker. Now watch what happens here. Pretty sweet, huh? Now let's say that you want to do something else with this mesh and not just these little points, right? Well, then we can do another thing here, and we can say Shift A. Let's say we want to keep the original geometry, right? Then what we're going to do is join geometry. I love that I have this search feature. And so now I have a couple of things that can happen, because now we have what we just made with these points, and we can do this. Now all of a sudden we have these spheres that are on the corners that just mixed in with the original mesh. Now, if that's not enough, we can do other things. Shift A, and this one I'm going to do a switch. I love the thing about the switch, right? So the switch is where you can do this cool thing and you can get it so that you have false or true. If I were to put this to true, right now you see this checkbox right here. The switch, nothing more than nothing more than this. It's a checkbox. See that? Pretty sweet, huh? Now, another thing that I really want to show you is that when you do these geometry nodes, and let's see, I got to think of a good name for these geometry nodes now for this item, by the way, because if you go into your modifiers, you'll see that now we have this on the side, and you just have geometry nodes, and that's it. Well, I can take this item and then plug it into here. And then all of a sudden, your custom modifier is getting this really cool thing where you have this switch. And now, you can do that. Now let's say I don't want to call it switch. Let's say I want to call it something else. If I pull up my properties, I can press N, and then this one, I can change the name from switch to keep original. And now, to keep original, there we go. Okay, so I have a name that I'm just thinking of right now. We're going to call this the Thingamifier. There we go. So, we can do this. We can do some cool stuff with that. Now, I would also like to make the edges a little less boring here. So to do that, I have a few things I can do. So what I like to do on that type of thing is that I like to say, turn this original into a wire type of thing. And to do that, I'm going to do Shift A, and I'm going to be saying mesh to curves. To curve there. Okay. So now I can take this and then I can put this into that. And now you'll start to notice that you have this kind of curve object coming up and highlighting, right? So as you do that, you have that cool curve object, but there's not really a whole lot that's happening there other than it's just a curve. So to get back into something that's going to like really show up like some kind of a piece of trim or something, what I can do is I can say, all right, mesh to curve. I want to turn you back into a mesh. So I'm going to do Shift A to mesh. And the first thing that comes up is curve to mesh. So what I can do is I can pull that onto the line. So nothing's happened yet, but you get this really cool thing where it says profile curve. So I'm going to make a profile curve, and I'm going to have it so that you have this circle that goes along the line, and I want to make this a curved circle. Right away you see this really huge thing. So just like the points that we put on the edges there, we're going to take this down. I'm going to take this down to 0.1 and see how that looks. And now, that's actually pretty cool there. But I can also take this down further, or I can always take those points on the edges there and increase the size on those, right? Now, another thing that I want to do is that I would like to group those together and make another little kind of modifier group, right? But instead of making them in a new thing right here, I'm just going to group these. So similar to what we did with this group with this point maker, right? So what I can do is I can say this, shift, shift, and I want to make sure that everything is selected there, and then I'm going to press Control G. And now I have this new group in here, and I have group inputs that I can do and everything, right? So another thing that's really cool is that in this group, I can control things like my radius. So I can say, all right, well, I want that. And then if I tab out of there, all of a sudden now I've got this really cool thing. And then I can do the same thing by going tab into point maker. And then I can control the radius here. Tab out. And now I've got these other controls. Point 2. Isn't this cool? So now I've just given myself a bunch of control just by doing those little things of grouping things like that, right? So now, if I want to take those and put them into this geometry node setup with the thingamafire, well, then I have other options that I can do. And I also want to change the name of this node group here. So let's see, if I go to, let's see, I think it's nodes. Okay, name. I'm going to change that now to wire maker. Okay. And also do the same thing there. Wire. Let's see. Yeah. Just want to make sure I'm doing this right. Wire maker. Okay, there we go. That one is better. I can also get this so that it's consistent with point maker. There we go. Now, right here we have our points, we have our wireframe, and then I can do some really cool stuff here. And then let's say I want to do 3 for face select. So I tabbed into edit mode. E, Z, 2. There we go. And now everything that I'm doing here follows. E, Y, 2. Absolutely everything. Pretty sweet, huh? All right. So I'm going to do a last thing here for each of these. And what I'm going to do is that I'm going to make some new materials. And the way I'm going to do that is that I'm going to say, all right, well, I'm going to make this material into wire, not wire. Another one, it's going to be points. Okay? Now on there, the wire I'm going to change to a black base color. Let's go into my value and just turn it all the way down. I'm going to do Control C on this. Viewport display, black. Okay, so right now it's just turned that into there. But now I have this where you'll see that the wire hasn't changed, but the mesh has. So now if I go into here, wire maker, what I'll do is that I'll turn this mesh object of the wires into a nice black wireframe. And so I'm going to set material by putting this between the output and the geometry. Okay, now we have points and wire, and then I can do that. Okay, tab out of here. There we go. Now I can also take that off of there, and you just get that. It's just the original base color of the mesh. Next thing, I'm going to make these points red. Do the same thing there. Okay, notice the same thing. I'll tab into this point maker group. I'll do the same thing, Shift A. And then I'm going to say set material. Okay, and then points. Tab out. And then I'm going to take that off, and you'll see that it retains all those colors right there. Pretty sweet, isn't it? And then anytime I want to use it where, you know what, I want to use this for other stuff, I can just turn on that item. So, there you go. And then I can also take this original mesh and I can put a material to it. So I'll say new. We'll just call this base. There we go. Then I'll make this blue. And look at that. Your base mesh now has its own color, but you also have these other things that have colors for their own properties. It's really cool so that if you just add another thing, that's really sweet because now you can do Shift A. Let's make another mesh just to give you an idea of that. UV sphere, GX, take this out. And now I'm going to make that same modifier right here. So that one, we're going to do the thingamifier. And there it is. Scale that up. Shift A to apply the scale. And that's sweet. GX. So, there you go right there. So this is a quick way to get started in making your own custom modifier by using geometry nodes. So I hope that you had a good time with this tutorial, and I thank you for watching. And I hope to see you in future episodes. So again, thanks for watching. Take care, guys.